Walters, Wolk, Wright, Wyland, Yee.
The Secretary notices the absence of a quorum. Will the Senators please report to the Senate chamber so we can get our session underway? A quorum is absent. Senators, please report to the Senate chambers. Thank you. Members, a quorum is present. I would ask you and our guests in the gallery and beyond the rail to please rise, and we will be led in prayer today by our chaplain, Rabbi Mona Alfie, after which we'll be led in the Pledge to Allegiance by Senator Vargas.
Good afternoon. The American theologian Reinhold Niebuhr taught that nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we must be saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, he says, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love. May the Holy One grant us enough hope to sustain us throughout our lives, a faith in the belief that what we do is of consequence and that future generations will one day enjoy the fruits of our labor, and the desire to work with one another to accomplish deeds that will be remembered as virtuous for the citizens of California. May this be God's will. Amen.
Members, we are at privileges of the floor. Members, we're at privileges of the floor. We'll move on to messages from the governor. They'll be deemed read, as well as messages from the assembly will be deemed read. Reports of committees will be deemed read and amendments adopted. We are at motions and resolutions, and we have, pursuant to Senate Rule 29.10C, the following bills are referred to the Rules Committee. Item number 1 today, AB 1073. Without objection. Thank you. Senator Leno, for what purpose?
Madam President, for purposes of introduction.
Thank you, Senator Leno. Then we'll go to privileges of the floor.
Thank you. Colleagues, I just want to take a moment to recognize the presence of 5 students from UC Hastings School of Law. They're here today, including among them Ryan Harrison, who used to be a Senate Sergeant at Arms member. Ryan, you want to say hello? And welcome to the Capitol.
Senator Leno, another introduction. Senator Leno at Senator Steinberg's desk.
Yes. Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, as you know, we are celebrating Black History Month this month of February, and I have the great pleasure of introducing a good friend to this Senate body and also the founder and director of Sojourn to the Past. You're probably familiar with it. Sojourn takes 11th and 12th grade students through a living history tour of 5 southern American states. And through that 10-day tour, they have the opportunity to put a real human face on a very important civil rights chapter of our history. They not only get to see the actual streets and bridges where police stopped nonviolent protesters with dogs and fire hoses and all the rest of our very black page in American history, but also get to meet individuals who led those days of advocacy in the 1950s and 60s. And of course, Jeff Steinberg is also the brother of our pro tem, Darrell Steinberg. I don't know if it was in the water in the Steinberg home, but I'll say this, that a passion for social justice is inbred in the Steinberg siblings, and we should be thankful to Mr. and Mrs. Steinberg for that. Jeff's program has won national awards, including just recently the 2011 National Arts and Humanities Youth Award Program from First Lady Michelle Obama. But they've also been the recipients of recognition and honor by the U.S. Congress, the National Education Association, and the California Legislature. And not only have there been over 6,000 students who have benefited from this actual 10-day tour, but hundreds of thousands of students and teachers and educators have benefited from this interactive program that they are able to share with schools across the country. So I want to thank Jeff for his creativity, for his leadership, for his unstoppable quest in making sure that we have a coming generation that understands and celebrates diversity, that includes a belief that injustice is to be denounced, and that, of course, all people should be treated with dignity, respect, and validation of their life. So please welcome Jeff Steinberg.
Thank you, Senator Leno, and thank you to Sojourn to the Past for all your educational work and outreach. Thank you again. Senator Price. And we'll go to Senator Price also at Senator Steinberg's desk.
Thank you, Madam President and members. One of the most important events in the American Civil Rights Movement was the end of legal segregation in public schools, initiated by the Supreme Court ruling Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. In 1957, Minnie Jean Brown Trickey became a part of history when she became one of the first African-American students to integrate Little Rock Central High School. This group of African-American students were subjected to physical and verbal abuse and required the protection of the National Guard as they became known as the Little Rock Nine. Since becoming a part of history as a teenager, Ms. Trickey has continued to serve the nation as a social activist, civil rights leader, and advocate for women's rights. Under the Clinton administration, she served as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Workforce Diversity at the Department of Interior, and for the past 12 years, she's been the nonviolence and anti-racism facilitator for the Sojourn to the Past, a nationally recognized social service education program who we honor today. During her tenure with Sojourn, she has worked with over 6,000 youth. She was the recipient of numerous awards for her social justice and community work, which include the Lifetime Achievement Tribute by the Canadian Race Relations Foundation and the International Wolf Awards contributions for racial harmony. With the Little Rock Nine, she received the NAACP Springham Medal and the Congressional Gold Medal. Ms. Trickey is the subject of the documentary Journey to Little Rock, the untold story of Minnie Jean Brown Trickey, which received critical acclaim in the international film festivals in Africa, England, Ireland, North Ireland, South America, Canada, and the United States. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Minnie Jean Brown Trickey.
Senator Steinberg.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I've had the privilege of seeing Minnie Jean Brown Trickey in action. And, you know, it might not be the cool thing to do to stand up here at my mic and praise my brother, but I can praise Minnie Jean Brown Trickey because I've been on this trip. And here's what I've seen. I've seen young people who were used to, on their high school campuses, being part of or witnessing other kids being made fun of, derogatory racial terms, derogatory terms about a young person's weight, or you name it, the kind of thing that goes on among young people. And then they hear the story of Minnie Jean Brown Trickey and the other civil rights heroes and heroines who sacrificed so much to bring us the freedoms that we count on today. And by the end of the trip, there isn't a single kid who doesn't express in front of every other kid that they are going to dedicate their lives to not standing idly by and watching that kind of behavior that goes on high school campuses. That they're not going to be the silent witnesses, that they're going to speak out and speak up when somebody else is treated badly and unfairly. And there is nothing more powerful than young people having the opportunity to meet somebody who doesn't just tell the story of history, but has actually lived it. And that's Minnie Jean Brown Trickey, and how lucky we are to have her on our floor here today. Thank you.
To Minnie Jean Brown Trickey, on behalf of the California Senate, thank you for your courageous efforts on behalf of equality in our country. Thank you, members. Thank you, Ms. Trickey. Senator Steinberg, I think you have another important introduction.
Yes, this is a lucky day for me to have the opportunity to introduce so many special guests. Our next special guest here is a name known to all Americans, and it's former Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis. Governor Dukakis, of course, has an incredible background of public service and public achievement. He was reminding me as we sat in my office a few moments ago that back before it became again sort of an accepted part of American public policy, that he was one of the lead governors to promote the notion of assistance to work, otherwise known as welfare reform. Since leaving public office, he has spent his life, along with his wonderful wife, Kitty, teaching and trying to promote the values of public service to the next generation. I asked him a couple of things. I said, what do you tell young people? And he said, it's very simple. Get involved, and get involved in public service. It's worthwhile. It's satisfying, no matter how difficult, no matter how much of a contact sport politics is. And Lord, he knows. Get involved. And I also asked him whether or not he had ever written, and he says, I write a lot. I write a lot about public policy. He said, but I'm not into writing memoirs. He said, because it's always got to be about thinking and looking forward. He's here today at the invitation of Chancellor Linda Katehi from the University of California at Davis, and he's here to speak as part of UC Davis's Distinguished Speakers Series. He also took time to attend a roundtable with our Assembly, Senate, and Executive Fellows. Please give a warm welcome and the microphone without objection to the former governor of the state of Massachusetts, former candidate for President of the United States, Michael Dukakis.
Thanks, Darrell. It's great to be back. My precinct captain in '88. Weren't you a precinct captain?
Yeah.
My precinct captain. You see, that's the way we nurture people. Anyway, it's great to be here. For the last 17 years, Kitty and I have been coming out to Los Angeles, where I teach during the winter quarter at the School of Public Affairs at UCLA. So we're really bi-coastal, and it's a wonderful experience, folks. And I want to tell you, you're producing some great young people in this country and in this state. And it's my privilege to be able to teach them and to try to inspire them, as Darrell said, to think seriously about careers in public service. So as long as they tell me I can still teach, and I think I'm a pretty good teacher, I'm going to try to do this. And spending the winter, especially New England winters, in Los Angeles ain't bad. It's, as I say to my constituents back there, it's a tough burden, but somebody's going to do it. So, but it's great to be with you. I spent some good times in this capital. In fact, for those of you old enough to remember it, Darrell, you're probably too young to remember this. I was the moderator of a public affairs debate show called The Advocates. And we actually did a show, I think, in this chamber, if I'm not mistaken, on PBS. Anyway, great to be here. Great to be teaching California policy issues. Can you believe that? This Massachusetts guy to some terrific young people, and I encourage them to do internships, to apply for those Capital Fellows programs. Believe me, they are so important, and they're life transforming for my students at UCLA. So keep it up. You're getting there. Just don't blow the surplus the next time you get one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor Dukakis. And we will go to Senator Woke and then back to Senator Steinberg. Senator Woke.
Thank you. For purposes of introduction, I'd like to introduce from UC Davis Law School, the Dean, Kevin Johnson, and the Associate Dean, Vic Amar. Welcome to the Capitol.
And they are up in the gallery. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, and thank you, Senator Woke, for that introduction. Senator Steinberg. Senator Steinberg.
Thank you. For purpose of taking up SCR 62, please.
Without objection, Senator. The Secretary will read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 62 by Senator Steinberg relative to Spray or Spay Neuter Awareness Month.
Senator Steinberg.
Thank you very much, Madam President. It's my privilege to author this resolution, which just simply serves to remind us.
Senator Steinberg, just one moment. Members, will come to order and let Senator Steinberg produce the reso, introduce the reso.
Which simply serves, it's my privilege to bring forward this resolution, which simply reminds us that more than 250,000 cats and 175,000 dogs that enter a shelter are euthanized in California annually. And that public policy, laws aside, spay and neuter your pet. Thank you. I'd urge an aye vote.
Members, any discussion on this resolution? This is concurrence in Assembly amendments. Any discussion? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Harmon. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Kehoe. Aye. Lamalfa. Aye. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Smidian, Steinberg, I. Strickland, I. Vargas, Walters, I. Wolk, I. Wright, I. Wyland, I. Yee. Yee,
Call
aye.
the absent members. Call the absent members.
Hancock, Huff, I. Carol Liu, Papley, I. Runner, Smidian, Vargas. Vargas, aye.
Ayes 36, no 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Senator Steinberg. Senator Steinberg, do you have one more introduction?
Item 57
All right,
for purposes
then,
of appointment.
members, we will go to governor's appointments. Item 57, and Senator Steinberg.
Thank you.
Without objection, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam President. These are the nominations of Sarita U. Cole, Karen P. Pines, and Christina W. Wong as members of the Board of Behavioral Sciences, David E. Diaz and Joan M. Hancock, members of the Contractor State License Board, and John Cronin as a member of the Board of Pilot Commissioners for the bays of San Francisco, San Pablo, and Sassoon. These appointees were heard in the Rules Committee on the 15th of February, approved on a 5-0 vote without opposition. I would ask for an aye vote.
Members, is there any debate or discussion on the appointments? Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist, I. Anderson, I. Berryhill, I. Blakesley, I. Calderon, I. Canella, I. Corbett, I. Correa, I. De Leon, I. DeSaulnier, I. Dutton, I. Emerson, I. Evans, I. Fuller, I. Gaines, I. Hancock, Harmon, I. Hernandez, I. Huff, I. Kehoe,
Aye.
I. LaMalfa, I. Leno, I. Ted Lieu, I. Carol Liu, Lowenthal, I. Negrete McLeod, I. Padilla, I. Papley, I. Price, I. Rubio, I. Runner, Smidian, Steinberg, I. Strickland, I. Vargas, I. Walters, I. Wolk, I. Wright, I. Wyland, I. Yee. Yee, aye.
Ayes 36, noes 0. The governor's appointments are confirmed. Members, we will go to motions and resolutions now. Senator Fuller and then Senator Dutton. Senator Fuller, for what purpose?
To adjourn in memory.
Without objection.
President and members, on behalf of Senator Runner and myself, I would like to adjourn in memory of Tom Kraft. Tom was a tireless advocate for the veterans community. He devoted 17 years for the veterans as chairman of the Lancaster Veterans Home Citizens Committee, fighting for the construction of the home. Fortunately, he was able to see this home become a reality. He is what we know as the Pete Knight Veterans Home in Lancaster. And I did live in Lancaster for 17 years during that time. So Tom was very active with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion and Military Officers Association of America. He was a leading proponent of the Antelope Valley Veterans Stand Down, an event to connect homeless veterans with health care, housing assistance, and veteran services. He was a seagoing veteran of the Korean and Vietnam Wars, and after his retirement from the Navy in 1987, he returned to the Antelope Valley, where he became the general manager of the Edwards Federal Credit Union. He was active in Boy Scouts and president of the local American Red Cross. Tom was the go-to guy on veterans' homes in California and even served as the Senate's representative to the Governor's Commission on Veterans' Home in 2002. Kraft is survived by his wife, Caroline, and children, Michael, Martin Kiley, Rebecca, and Cheryl. He will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Senator Fuller, thank you for your words, and we offer our condolences from the Senate to his family and community. Thank you. And Senator Dutton.
Yeah, Madam President, I rise to request an adjournment in memory. James Harris Llewellyn passed away on Saturday, February 25th, after a 15-month battle with cancer. Jim was to turn 69 next month. I actually have known Jim and his wife Kathy for almost 30 years. Jim was a very determined individual, very strong-willed, is obviously evident with regards to his battle against cancer. Jim was in the insurance industry when I first met him, and frankly, his wife Kathy still works for the family even today. Very close personal friends of the family, and Jim's going to be missed very much. He is survived by his wife Kathy, who lives in Rialto. Jim is also survived by his son David Llewellyn and daughter Michelle Mosier, and his two beautiful granddaughters, Jessica and Ashley Mosier. He will be sorely missed by family and friends, and I would respectfully request an adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Senator Dutton, and we offer our condolences from the Senate to his family. Thank you for your words. Senator Correa.
For purposes of announcement?
Without objection.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that March 2nd is Dr. Seuss's birthday, so you all should be getting your calls from the local elementary schools to go read across America. I encourage all of you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Correa. Any further announcements, members? Any further announcements? Senator Lowenthal.
I'm pleased to announce that as of last night, I am a new grandfather. Yes, Raquel Alejandra was born last night. Thank you. 7 pounds, 2 ounces.
Congratulations, Senator
Big
Lowenthal.
girl.
The Lowenthal base is growing in Long Beach. Members, any other announcements? Any other announcements? Seeing none, then Senator Steinberg, unless you have other business, the desk is clear.
No. Thank you very much, Madam President. Just want to remind members that tomorrow we have the conference committee on 2 bills relating to pensions. The pension conference committee is meeting tomorrow at 9:30. Natural Resources and Water has a major hearing on the update on Delta plans at 10 o'clock Wednesday. Education meets at 9 o'clock on hearing from the Student Advisory Board on legislation. Rules at 1:30, where we have a number of significant appointments. Floor session will resume at 9 o'clock on Thursday, following which there will be another third week in a row. Budget Committee hearing on CalWorks and the administration's proposal on CalWorks redesign. Thank you.
Members, if there's no further business to come before the House, then we will, the Senate will be in recess until 3:30 today, at which time the adjournment motion will be made, and we will reconvene on Thursday at 9 a.m.